Used to be at Arsenal alongside Anthony Contreras. The sun is blazing as it has been at every daytime game at this tournament. Costa Rica get us underway, playing from right to left as we look down. Costa Rica in the red shirts, the blue shorts and the white socks. Japan in the blue shirts with the bright yellow numbers at the back. And Japan have got possession with Ueda, who sends it down the left-hand side. And the first attack of the game is from Yuki Soma. Good little bit of movement, gets to the byline, swings in across, and Waston is back defending on the edge of the 6-yard box and is able to head it away, but it hasn't gone very far. Nagatomo tries to send in the cross and is deflected out for a corner, and this is just the start Japan would have wanted. They are out to the traps like a greyhound.
Yeah, well, Nagatomo was, before the game kicked off, he was getting the crowd pumped up, and again he is there down the left hand side and he's asking the crowd to get behind them. Really good start from Japan, a couple of early forays down the left hand side, well defended from Costa Rica.
Everything they do is precise and it's rapid, the Japanese. They don't seem to ponder on anything. It's a very fast, flashing start to the game as Michael Oliver holds up the delivery of the corner because he wants to lay down the law early. There's two players jostling for position inside the penalty area, and he says he's not going to stand for any of that today. So he's got his eyes on them as Soma prepares to take the corner from the far side. Low delivery towards the front post. Ueda might have had a free header with a diving header. It just seemed to flash in front of his considerable fringe, and he flops the hair back over the top of his scalp, but he didn't get a clean connection on it, and Costa Rica get the ball away.
He perhaps should do better. It isn't the greatest ball in from Soma, but Ueda gets across the front post and sort of arcs his neck at it, but doesn't make any contact at all.
0-0 in the early stages here. 5 Live and BB Sounds of the World Cup. Japan 0, Costa Rica 0. Later on today, the lunchtime game is Belgium against Morocco. A win will see the Belgians through to the last 16. Later on, the 4 o'clock kickoff UK time sees Croatia take on Canada. Canada, who looked good in their opening game but couldn't score. If they lose today, they will be out. And it's the heavyweight clash later on tonight, 7 o'clock in the UK. It's Group E, it's this group. It is Spain against Germany. The first time at this tournament the two former World Cup winners will come up against each other in the group stage. Chance for Japan, bounces away from Ritsu Doan, and it's skewed off the outside of his left boot. He was a long way out, it was speculative, but he hits it away off target. 0-0.
Yeah, it's one of those where it sits up and you just think, I've got to hit it, I've got to take the opportunity, but it was always rising in front of him, never get his body over the ball, and high, wide and handsome, sadly for Doan.
We do get a video of all the players at the World Cup. The squads come together and they record themselves saying their name, which is very useful, Stephen, for these pronunciations. Did you watch the Japanese video by these?
I did.
They say their names so quickly.
Well, I think everyone does. Yeah. And I think they just expect you to understand it straight away. I'd like it to be broken down a little bit.
If you take, let's take, the number 4. So you would say it's Itakura. That's how it looks like. The way he says, he goes Itakura. Whoa, what's this? Say that again. What? You just know that was Itakura. So I don't think we'll be quite that authentic with that. Entonces Moriata Totas. We will go more Doan, Moriata, Endo. I think that's going to be safer for Stephen. I just have a hunch.
I'd like to listen to you do that the whole game, though. Yeah, it'd be impressive.
I don't think any of the listeners would. So apologies to any Japanese native speakers listening in who might think that we're being very slow in our delivery of their names. Free kick for Costa Rica, played in by Joel Campbell, comfortably cleared away. Maybe a chance of a counter-attack for Yuki Soa down the left-hand side. Gets in an arm wrestle up against Gerson Torres, and that's going to be a free kick, and a free kick for Costa Rica on the halfway line. It's all started in a frantic nature. This is the 25th game of this World Cup. Japan, who've never made it past the last 16 of one of these tournaments, could this be the year? They've certainly given themselves the perfect start with that win over Japan. Possession with Joel Campbell, who's operating in a left-back position at the moment. The Arsenal striker, I'm sure, will be making his way upfield in just a moment. Anthony Contreras, another who plays his club football in Costa Rica with Herdiano, and he's taken down, and that's going to be a free kick. And a free kick to Costa Rica inside the Japanese half. They are very skillful, the Japanese, but they don't mess around with the tackling either. They know how to crunch in and to win a free kick, or to give away a free kick, I should say, as well.
Yeah, I think they've understood that the physical side of the game is a huge element, and they have to be better at that side of it. I think it was Endo, when he was at Stuttgart, said I think he was the most physical player within the Bundesliga.
Joel Campbell again takes the free kick, and it's headed away just on the edge of the penalty area. Comes back out to Joel Campbell, who over his time at Arsenal, he made 40 appearances for the first team, but he only really had one season that he was regularly in the side. He tries to skip away from Doan there, and he's taken down, and that's going to be a free kick to Costa Rica. Joel Campbell, who always seemed to be out on loan during his many years at Arsenal, and he's been all over the place. He's played all over the world. He plays in Mexico these days with Leon. Joel Campbell, today is his 121st cap. Now, he's taken the early free kicks. He's not going to take this one. We've an image of our screen of a very young Japanese baby being held in his mother's arms, watching on. This free kick is going to be taken by Celso Borges, just outside the penalty area, 15 yards or so, left-hand side, plays it in. Goalkeeper decided he was going to come early, and Suchi Gonda comes and gathers it closely in his bright lime green goalkeeping shirt.
Really good take from Gonda. Decided early that he was going to come and collect the ball. A couple of the Japanese players sprinted off. They wanted a counter-attack, but he's just trying to slow the game down and realises that Costa Rica have put them under a little bit of pressure for the last couple of the moments. So he wants to take the sting out of it.
6 minutes played, half an hour in to their opening game. Costa Rica were already 3-0 down, so they'll be pleased that this has had a more sedentary approach to it this time in terms of the goal mouth action, as the ball is played back by Otikura, back to Maya Yoshida, familiar face and name from his time at Southampton. Yoshida, who now plays in Germany with Schalke. He's played every minute of the last 2 World Cup campaigns for Japan in Russia and Brazil. He's a very experienced international. He's on the ball inside the centre circle, number 22 on his back, rolls it to the right hand side to Otikura, back into the centre to Yoshida again, and this is a slow build up this time from Japan as Nagatomo gets it on the left hand side. He's 140th cap. They do have a lot of experience in this Japanese team,
especially in the back line as well, which is hugely important. Players that have played at the highest level, playing in Europe as well, so that is a big thing coming into tournament football.
It's the Japanese squad, 19 of the 26 players play their club football in Europe, and they were the first to announce their squad of all the teams of this tournament. Straight out of the gap, 1st of November, they went, right, this is our squad, we're not going to mess around. Iketura to the right hand side to Yaman, low ball into the feet of Ueda, who's managed to shuffle it on the edge of the penalty area, but Duarte is there and he's able to clear it away for Costa Rica long into the Japanese half. And they're playing quite deep, Costa Rica, probably not surprising for a team who conceded 7 last time out.
Yeah, that as well, and then also this is a different proposition from Japan as well. They in the last game against Germany, it suited them playing counter-attack football in the way that they were set up. Now the emphasis is on them to go and break down Costa Rica.
Morty has passed through outside of the right boot, just too far in front of Daichi Kamada of Eintracht Frankfurt, who was the top scorer for the German side in the Europa League last season when they won the competition. He scored against West Ham en route to the final as well. It was a clever run, but the pass was just too forceful, and it runs through to the experienced Keylor Navas, who's not played at all this season for Paris Saint-Germain. He's at the French club. Last season he shared the first team duties with Donnarumma. They played roughly half the games each, but this time round Donnarumma is the undisputed number 1, and Keylor Navas has had to sit on the bench. And there was much talk about why, particularly in a World Cup year, he didn't go elsewhere, Stephen, to get first team football. Apparently there are 13 million good reasons a year that he wants to sit on the bench for Paris Saint-Germain, and I don't think anyone else is going to pay those. And that's in your pounds sterling as well, by the way.
Wow.
13 million. So
it's like your fee for being here today.
Well, just for the first half, yeah. But yeah, I mean, no one's going to match those wages for a player of his age. But you know, what an experienced player, 3 Champions League medals in the past.
Yeah, incredible career. But there has to come a point where how much more do you need? But listen,
he's got 2 years left on the contract.
Oh, right. Yeah, stay where you are.
So
ended that argument, didn't it?
Yeah, he'll be sitting on his gloves for some time as Japan come on the attack down the left hand side. Yuki Soma looks to take on Kishore Fuller, who's playing on the right hand side of what's effectively a back 5, and Fuller puts the ball out of play for a throw into Japan, which Yuko Nagatomo will come forward to take. 4th World Cup finals appearance for him. He turned 36 in September. He takes the throw into Kamada, and then a chance to clear away here for Costa Rica as Gerson Torres does a little Cruyff turn back at himself and runs into trouble, and Nagatomo is there to block it. It goes out for a throw into Costa Rica, who are a bit penned in here. Throw in for them in their right full-back position in the early stages, 0-0.
I wondered how Costa Rica might set up. They were a little bit light against Spain in midfield. They have set up with predominantly a 3 at the back, and it's changed into a 5, but Joe Campbell is sitting in that left-sided position, not really playing too high up the pitch. I think the emphasis is on counter-attacking football for them.
Costa Rica yet to score at this World Cup. They didn't muster a single shot at goal in their opening defeat to Spain. And I think you go back through the stats, and I think the sort of collating of that data only began at the 1966 World Cup. But apparently it's the first time a team didn't have forget about a shot on target, not even an attempt at goal. Nobody's had that bad a performance, or that been inhibited that much at a World Cup game before.
I think we saw a shot before, but it actually didn't make it into the penalty box. It was blocked outside. Are we counting that?
Wait, are you talking about today?
Yeah.
No, but I mean is in the 7-0 defeat.
No, I know, but at least they've had a shot today.
They'll take that.
So we're taking that. Are we putting that on the list of shots on target?
At the moment, they will take absolutely anything. You're right, Stephen. Absolutely. Kendall Watson, which, by the way, his father's name was Watson, and they reckon it was an administrative error when they were writing on his birth cert. They wrote Waston instead of Watson, and he's kept it. Wow. So there you go. Yeah. Which I believe there's something about that. Was there something about that with Dennis Bergkamp, whether there was 2 N's or 1 N in Dennis, and it was a mistake on his birth certificate? I don't know. I can't remember. That's just flashed into my brain from some time a long time ago. I'm sure some of our listeners will let us know on social media if that is the case. Francisco Calvo tries to clear the ball away for Costa Rica, plays his club football in Turkey. They come forward now with Joel Campbell, left-hand side of the midfield, but Japan works so hard to get numbers back, and Costa Rica, we spoke about their attempts to counter-attack. Japan just not letting them do that. As soon as Japan lose possession, it's a flurry of blue shirts to get back goal side.
The recovery runs are incredible, and we saw that against Germany in the game. As Costa Rica come forward,
but the through pass is all the way into Suchi Gonda, the goalkeeper, who comes to the edge of his penalty area. It's Keisha Fuller, the right wing back, who'd made the run, and the pass was ever so slightly overcooked.
It's better from Costa Rica. At least they're getting men forward and trying to get him behind the Japanese back line. It's a high line that they are holding because of how deep Costa Rica is sitting, and it is going to take those runs from deep to penetrate through the back line of Japan.
This is 5 Live and BBC Sounds. Take the World Cup with you wherever you go with the World Cup Daily podcast, which is available on BBC Sounds each morning. And you can listen to coverage of all the games across 5 Live and BBC Sounds during the tournament as Duarte jumps on the edge of the penalty area and hasn't done very well with his clearance. It's been picked up by Roman, who delivers a low cross straight through the 6-yard box, and it squirts out the other side. All it needed was a touch in the centre. Ritzy Doan, who scored against Germany, very nearly creating an opening goal for Japan here.
Really nice play down the right hand side, and just puts it into an area where he's hoping one of his strikers, midfielders, is making a late run. Keylor Navas, he pulls his arm away from it because he knows if he touches it, he pushes it into an area where it's potentially a tap-in. Decides to leave it and just hopes for the best, and it was the right decision.
0-0 it remains. Free kick to Costa Rica, midway inside their own half. It's been a bit of a slog so far for the Costa Ricans, who were the very last team to book their place at this World Cup. They finally came through the playoff process. Joel Campbell plays it back into Kendall Waston in defence. His ball over to the right hand side, controlled in the stomach but miscontrolled by Keisha Fuller, and the nerves are there. The scars of that 7-0 defeat to Spain seem very evident in a nervy start to the game from Costa Rica, who are really struggling to get any sort of rhythm, any sort of tempo here. They're not putting passes together, and Japan making it difficult with the high press and forcing Costa Rica back to Keylor Navas once again. Now they try to play out from the back. Calvo under pressure here, Brian Oviedo, and he turns and he clears it away off Yaman, and that goes out for a throw into Costa Rica, but right back level with the edge of their own penalty area on the left hand side. Still scoreless here.
Finding it difficult, Costa Rica. Such is the press from Japan. They're so intense when they go and close the ball down. They're in the face. They don't commit fouls very often. They press so well. Costa Rica so far haven't had any answers to get themselves beyond the halfway line when playing out from the back.
Don't forget, later on today, Belgium against Morocco, Croatia against Canada, Spain against Germany in this group. Those are the other matches taking place at the World Cup. A win for Japan would send them through if Germany don't win against Spain later on.
Do you know that one team that I'm really looking forward to watching today is Canada?
Yes.
I thought they were brilliant the other night against Belgium. I love the attitude of the players and the forward progressive football that they tried to play.
Just couldn't score. Just need a number 9, yeah. But you're right, that'll be very interesting to see how they get on against Croatia. If Canada lose, they're out today, so they've got to give it absolutely everything. Duarte here sliding in. He'll do well to prevent that going for a corner, and he does. He slides in by the byline and puts it out for a throw, and instead that's a good committed lunge from the man who plays his club football in Saudi Arabia.
He was wholehearted, wasn't he? Had to get there. Knew it was important not to give away a corner.
Japan get it back again. Nagatomo and Soma have been combining well down that left-hand side. But now the Samurai Blue will look to come through the middle as Kamada tries to flick the ball forward, and it won't just sit up for him, and it's cleared away by Brian Oviedo. Costa Rica, their last line of defence barely moves more than 10 yards away from their own penalty area. They are just expecting Japan to be coming back at them again very quickly. Throw into Costa Rica just inside their own half. Anthony Contreras, who was reading that his dad, when they got to the playoff against New Zealand, which was played in Qatar, his dad went to his boss and he said, I want some time off, my son is playing a World Cup playoff, I want to go to the game. The company wouldn't allow him any more time, he'd used up his holidays, so he quit. He walked out, he said, that's it, I'm going to watch my son qualify for the World Cup. Some things are more important.
Absolutely, yeah.
0-0 it remains for the moment. Ko Ikatora forward for Japan into a busy midfield. Mortia tries to flick it on, but he's scooped it forward too much, and it's through to Keylor Navas. And much made of the warm temperatures in Qatar, Stephen. Keylor Navas looks like he's about to go for a hike up the Pennines in November. He's got the skins on, he's got the extra woolly socks, he's got the long sleeves, he's the most wrapped up player I've seen at this World Cup.
Go on, Connor, he's in the shade.
He's in the shade. The air conditioning in these stadiums has been spoken about, but I don't think it's of that particular effect on Keylor Navas, wearing all black as well, as Japan come on the attack. Kamada can't bring it with him on the edge of the D of the penalty area, but Costa Rica can't clear it away, and Kamada will get another opportunity. Lovely through ball to the byline. Yaman got there, but he's scooped. Cross goes over the crossbar, and he wasn't able to keep it in play, and Costa Rica just stepped away from Kamada there, and that was dangerous. I'm actually surprised he didn't take on a shot himself. He was unselfish going for the pass.
Lovely ball from Kamada, just in behind, splits the fullback in, puts it in, and you're just thinking, just stand it up. But your man, he cannot get there, he can't just wrap his foot round it enough. But really positive play. It makes me laugh when I hear you say your man, because it's a very Irish saying, isn't it?
Yeah. Your man, Stephen Warnock.
Yeah, exactly.
Japan 0, Costa Rica 0. As the ball is cleared away by Ikatora, long into the Costa Rican half, easily controlled back there by Duarte, and he'll clear it away into the Japanese half. Good hustling and work in there to hold on to possession by Mortia, and Japan will clear away down the left-hand side.
What's apparent in this game so far is Costa Rica are playing very narrow. They're trying to make sure that whenever Japan come forward, they're pushing them down the lines, they're making sure that they're going wide, and they're happy for them to do that. They're just making sure as Japan come forward
into the penalty area, but Kendall Waston is on hand to clear the ball away, and Japan are getting closer. They're beginning to find room in that final third, and this feels a little bit inevitable at the moment. Costa Rica are on very thin ice.
Yeah, they are. They're just picking passes. It's just that final ball at the moment, but you do feel it's coming. They do look a little bit more organised though, Costa Rica.
Some follow-up detail on our Dennis Bergkamp Bert Cert story, which will bring you in a break in play. That will be breaking news on 5 Live.
Wow.
In just a moment. But Japan 0, Costa Rica 0 is the scoreline for a moment. Wataru Endo to the left-hand side to Nagatomo. Ball into the penalty area, just won't run in front of Ueda. And Keylor Navas comes out to the edge of the area and holds on to it. Right, James on Twitter has been in touch. He says that Dennis Bergkamp's father, and this by the way, if you've just joined us, because Kendall Waston, who's playing at the heart of the defence for Costa Rica, his father's surname was Watson, as in Sherlock Holmes, and the person writing out the birth cert wrote Waston, W-S-T-O-N, and he stuck with it throughout his life. James on Twitter says that Dennis Bergkamp's father wanted to name him after Dennis Law, D-E-N-I-S, but the Dutch registrar, these were different times, folks, said that D-E-N-I-S looked too much like a girl's name, and insisted that it needed to be recorded with two N's, D-E-N-N-I-S, and that is why Dennis Bergkamp has always said the two N's and not the one N like Dennis Law. So there you go. Kamada on the attack. Tried to play it to the right-hand side looking for Doan, and it's well cut out. Good interception by Calvo, and Costa Rica clear it away.
I just like the way it was in the back of your mind that you knew that story. Very impressive.
That would have been
fountain of knowledge.
That would have been from working at a World Cup Dennis Bergkamp was playing about 20 years ago, and the sort of tale that we come up with in these commentaries, that would have been in there. For some reason, and now you see, now I'm digging in deep. There's something about Dennis Irwin now as well, and I've got to try and figure what that one was, but it was definitely Dennis Bergkamp.
Is he not just your hero?
Well, exactly, and thanks to James for sending that in on Twitter. Calvo has possession just outside the penalty area, 0-0 in the Ahmed bin Ali Stadium. Ahmed bin Ali, who was the Emir of Qatar back in the 1960s. Big modern venue as they all are. This one's got the huge membrane skin around it, which at night they illuminate up and the whole thing becomes like a massive TV screen. As possession with Celso Borges, who's playing on the right hand side of the defence, dropping into midfield when Costa Rica do come forward. That's been few and far between in the game so far. Into Yeltsin Chijeda. I've been a story about his name as well, by the way, if the game gets really dull, as Francisco Calvo will bring it over the halfway line on the left hand side. This is the first time in the game that Costa Rica put more than 10 passes together in a row. Francisco Calvo wants to keep it going, gives it back to Kendall Waston. And Japan aren't doing any real high press. They're just being patient. They're allowing Costa Rica to have the ball here, but Costa Rica aren't really going anywhere. They're still inside their own half. Brian Oviedo, who says that the greatest moment in his career was when he scored a goal for Everton at Old Trafford to get Everton's first win there against Manchester United in 21 years, fondly remembered by Everton fans. And he was very unlucky as well, Stephen. I don't know if you remember, he picked up a really bad injury.
Broke his leg, didn't he? Yeah, a very bad break as well, because he was having a really good time in his career at that point, and then you pick up an injury like that. So difficult to recover from, not only physically but mentally as well.
Now, I was about to say he was probably the best left back in English football at the time, but then I realised you were probably still playing, so I'm going to say he was one of the best left-sided
No, I think you were right.
I think I was right. I'm just being polite, but he was. And then it was an FA Cup tie and he broke his, and that was 2014. That was the World Cup year. He missed the World Cup in Brazil that year. Here comes Contreras down the left-hand side for Costa Rica, but he had run out of steam by the time he reached the byline, and it was a tired, stretched cross, and it had no danger on it, and Japan were able to clear the ball away. Just seen an image on our screens of some Japanese fans who I think were dressed up as 10-pin bowling skittles. And we speak about Kilo Navas's costume. I can only imagine how hot it is in the heat of Qatar.
Face paint on as well.
Exactly.
Incredible.
That'll streak later. But the Japanese are coming. They're so creative, and some of the outfits you see of the fans have been, I mean, to be fair, for a lot of the countries, but the Japanese always seem to think outside the box. This is Calvo, still 0-0 here, the first of today's 4 games of the World Cup here on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. As Japan have possession with Endo, plays it over the halfway line to Ueda. Can't bring the ball with him though. Good stern defending by Kendall Waston. And Costa Rica have possession. They play it over to Keisha Fuller on the right hand side. Scored an early goal against the USA in the qualifiers after just 60 seconds. We played 24 minutes of this game. I think Costa Rica were 2-0 down already against Spain in their last game. By this stage they were 3-0 down by a half an hour played. So their coach Luis Fernando Suarez will be feeling, well, look, at least this hasn't got any worse, but they don't have any further chances today, and at some stage you feel Costa Rica are going to have to go with this or their World Cup could end today.
Yeah, I think maybe it's a game plan just to sit in, frustrate Japan, make it difficult for them, and then in the second half really have a go at it. You can see the quality of both Joel Campbell and Andre Contreras. They're the two players, but finding opportunities to get them on the ball, that's where it's been really difficult for Costa Rica.
Contreras is young, he's 22, but he's quick, he's had a bit of purpose about him, and you feel they need to get him on the ball a little bit more. It's just see actually as Japan came forward there, looking at the lineup for Costa Rica, very much a 5-4-1 as they defend. Joel Campbell, who we know is an attacking player, but he's having to operate as a midfielder, and Contreras has to drop deep as well. And it must be frustrating for these guys who you'd imagine would like to be on the front foot, but their defensive responsibilities are very much evident.
Yeah, and I think that's the same for a lot of teams within world football. When they go to the national teams, it's a change in system, a change in personnel and the way they used to play. But yeah, they're the talisman. Well, definitely Joel Campbell is for his nation. He'll understand that it's different when he goes and plays for them.
Here is Yeltsin Tejeda in the midfield for Costa Rica. Plays it on to Celso Bogues, who's given it away. A careless pass. Now, what can Ueda do here? He runs into big Kendall Waston, but it'll fall for Japan again. Doan on the right-hand side. Another crunching tackle comes in on him. Costa Rica flexing their muscles a little bit. Joel Campbell's going to lose possession here, but the ball goes off a Japanese boot. It came off Doan, and that will be a throw into Costa Rica, still penned in their left full-back position.
Well, Costa Rica, they didn't lay a glove on Spain in the game. Now they're getting physical, they're getting close to people. You can sense that pride in what they're doing, and they're slowly building confidence, and that is the most important thing. It isn't like a tap, you can't turn it on and off. It has to grow within a game, and you can just sense that the Costa Ricans are starting to trust themselves a little bit again.
I'm told that there are lively scenes in Tokyo this evening where it is early evening at the moment, and thousands of people gathered watching this game on big screens, and you can only imagine. I mean, look, Japan, they love their sport and they love their football and the national team. They'll have been excited about the World Cup anyway, but can you imagine the effect that victory over Germany has had, and how in Japan they will suddenly be thinking, okay, come on, let's be having this World Cup.
Well, that's the big thing. I saw the celebrations after the game and it looked incredible, and rightly so, because it was a fantastic result. However, that disappears very quickly as we're sort of 26, 27 minutes into the game. Now they're wanting a result today, and they are expectant as well. It
should be said as well that in that game against Germany, Japan didn't offer much at all in attack for the first 2/3 of the match. It was only that late on in the game they made the two substitutions, and the two subs got the goals. But it's not like the 2-1 win was all-out attack for Japan. No. They were very conservative in their approach, and it was only late in the game that they really went for it.
Yeah, when the opportunity arose for counter-attacks, and the Germans probably got a little bit fatigued. And you saw the substitutions, they were huge in the game, and the effect that they had on it. Will we expect the same today?
Attempted clearance away by Duarte, and he's quite fortunate there. It struck Ueda, and it could have fallen anywhere, but it went all the way back to the goalkeeper, Keylor Navas, so no concern there for Costa Rica on that occasion. 0-0 it remains. Just to let you know what's coming up tomorrow Monday, another 10 o'clock start. Cameroon against Serbia. Serbia could be on the way out if they lose that game. South Korea will take on Ghana. Ghana will be out if they lose. That's the lunchtime game tomorrow. Brazil are back in action tomorrow. They play against Switzerland, and Portugal and Cristiano Ronaldo too. Portugal against Uruguay. That'll be a good one, and a win for Portugal will see them through tomorrow.
Tasty game. Really tasty game. Uruguay really disappointed me in the first game. Didn't really sort of anticipate them being that poor, but they struggled in the game to create any opportunities of real clear note. A couple of times I think they struck the crossbar from a long range effort, but apart from that they were poor.
Yeah, Rick Edwards back on 5 Live Breakfast tomorrow in Qatar from 6 a.m. looking out to those Portugal and Brazil games as the matches just keep coming. We've only got a few days left though, Stephen, of this having 4 different kickoffs, 10, 1, 4 and 7, because very soon it goes into the last group games, and then it's the head-to-heads, and we're only going to have 2 games a day you can watch. I mean, this is going to be cold turkey stuff.
It's not good at all, is it? However, from our point of view, when you say about a game and you're trying to think of it and they're all merged into one, it's very difficult to recall what's gone on in certain games.
We won't have the early starts once it reaches those head-to-heads. It'll be afternoon kickoffs and evening kickoffs once we get into the final games of each group, and then after that it's into the last 16. Then it becomes the quarterfinals. Before we know it, we'll only have 1 game a day, and this World Cup will be beginning to run away from us. 25 games in already. We've got to enjoy it while we've got it. As 0-0 it remains at the moment. As Ritsu Doan controls the ball, did well actually. It bounced awkwardly off his shoulder, but he held on to it. Got it down on the deck, and then he couldn't keep it. And Joel Campbell with a very fancy flick, and a bit more confidence now about Costa Rica's Brian Oviedo comes over the halfway line. I've just noticed that his boots, they look like they made a solid goal. He's got real flashy boots. I mean, that's fair enough if you're Messi or Ronaldo or someone. He's absolutely looking for notice, Brian Oviedo, with those boots.
Oh, they are lively, aren't they? I don't think I'd get away with them, Connor.
No,
but
no.
Having been the standout performer in 2014, yes. He deserves to wear them.
He does. He absolutely does. Back then, he certainly could have worn them. As Francisco Calvo with the very sober black boots comes forward. He's got not quite the same flash at all. He'll turn and roll it back to Kilo Navas, away to our right hand side. 10th appearance at a World Cup for Kilo Navas in terms of matches played. No Costa Ricans been involved in more than that. Kendall Waston gives it short to Oviedo. You can see what they're trying to do, Costa Rica. They're trying to build patterns, they're trying to get rhythm going, but they are finding it very difficult to break out of their own half. It's a little bit of cat and mouse here so far in the early stages in a game that has yet to spring into life. They can't all be classics. As a crossfield ball, 31 minutes on the clock now, controlled by Keisha Fuller. He'll roll it back inside his own half. Duarte receives possession back once again quickly from Gerson Torres. Torres tries to give it back to Fuller. Challenge comes in from Nagatomo. Free kick to Costa Rica inside their opponent's half. Now, can they make this count? A free kick inside Japanese territory. A chance to push the big men forward from the back.
It's interesting. Nagatomo, one of the most experienced, if not the most experienced player on the pitch. He's given quite a few fouls away.
Gonda, the Japanese goalkeeper, has had 3 touches of the ball in these opening 31-32 minutes, which will illustrate for you the pattern of this game so far. Flag was raised on the far side there. Calvo thought he might have been in, but flag was raised and Costa Rica offside.
Yeah, well, I thought straight away when Stuart Atwell gave the foul, I was thinking, it can't be a foul, it's just a shoulder to shoulder, but it wasn't. It was an offside because Calvo would have been away and sort of going towards the penalty box to create a problem for Japan.
Both of the Japanese goals against Germany came late. They will be patient today, they will trust the process. Free kick to be taken by Suchi Gonda, who plays in Japan with the S-Pulse club. Started 15 games in the qualifiers. His place in the team here at the tournament wasn't for granted, though. Daniel Schmidt, one of the reserve keepers, has been putting pressure on him lately. There had been a lot of talk in the Japanese media that Schmidt might be about to become the first choice. Gonda holding on to the position for now. Brian Oviedo plays it in field to Waston. Poor pass again, and the quality isn't there for Costa Rica. They are struggling to play their way out from the back. 0-0 it remains.
Yeah, they just don't have the quality to play out, and they're struggling to find their way up the pitch. You just feel that they need to go a little bit more direct into Campbell, into Contreras as well, to get them on the ball higher up the pitch.
Gerson Torres stretches, rolls it back to Oscar Duarte. Now bang on the halfway line. Torres once again. 11 men back behind the ball for Japan. I mean, Stephen, I will always hype up a game. I will always look for the good in it. I'm struggling here at the moment. This is not a classic. It's
not at all, and it doesn't have the feel of if Japan win, they're pretty much through. If Costa Rica lose, then they're going out. They need to up the games, but it's almost a game of chess at the moment, and realising that neither team wants to be the first to concede. Yeah, there is a jeopardy, but rather than the jeopardy forcing someone to grab the bull by the horns, it feels like you've got two teams here who are thinking, right, we don't want to do anything silly in this first half, no mistakes, we're going to play within ourselves. I haven't seen anyone take a gamble on either side so far in the match. Cross by Oviedo into the penalty area, easily dealt with by Katora, who gives it a big welly and boots it up the field. Ueda won't be able to control, and Costa Rica regain possession again at the back. Ueda hasn't really impressed at all. His link-up play's been poor, hasn't held the ball up when it's come into him. He's tried little one-touch balls round the corner, and he hasn't allowed Japan to gain sort of progression up the pitch and find a way higher up and cause Costa Rica problems. Been far too easily for the Costa Rican back five that he put in place today. Here come Costa Rica again, this time on the right-hand side. Torres rolls the ball back behind. Cross in comes from
Borges. Japan have plenty of defenders back there, but they haven't been able to clear it away. Campbell with the outside of the left boot goes for a spectacular curling, looping shot, but it's way too high and it spins into the crowd. Had he got it on target, it would have been brilliant, but it wasn't even near target. And Joel Campbell, the former Arsenal man, well, at least it's a proper attempt at target, and that's probably the first of those that Costa Rica have had of the whole World Cup.
Sadly, it's nowhere near the target, though. It's just so wide. High and wide. You can see what he's trying to do as the ball comes to him. He just tried to push it with the outside of his left foot into the top corner, and he gets it horribly wrong and skies it over the bar.
This is Maya Yoshida on the halfway line, done by Nagatomo, and then the challenge comes in on Yuki Soma, and that is a free kick to Japan inside Costa Rica territory. A game of football perhaps itching to break out at the Ahmed bin Ali Stadium at the moment. As Nagatomo will play it forward, that's a bit better. Mortia back in the midfield. Crossfield pass by Kamada will be controlled by Yaman. Yaman to the edge of the penalty area, and Doan. And Costa Rica working hard to ensure that Japan can't deliver across here, and Yaman is forced to go backwards, and Ikatora will in the end retreat all the way back to the goalkeeper Gonda way to our left hand side.
Yeah, credit where credit's due, and Costa Rica are working so hard. They're trying to recover into positions and make life very difficult for Japan, and they're doing that. But for Japan, the ball has to be moved quicker. It's far too slow. Imagine the Germans turning on this game today and thinking, how did we get beat by Japan on this performance so far?
Yeah. It will hurt the Germans, I'm sure. I mean, and look, I said this when Argentina lost their opening game before. Losing your first game of the World Cup is not the end. Spain lost their opening game in 2010, and they went on to win the tournament. Germany could still have a very good World Cup. They've got to say that was the bad day in the office. But you're right. I think if Japan were 3-0 up by now, they'd be saying, well, look, we were beaten by a really good team. But they're looking at this, and as you say, Stephen, how did Germany lose to these? Yeah, long way to go, of course. Japan, it would appear, are playing the long game at the moment. Ikatora into the midfield, picks out Adimasi Mortea. Now maybe a chance to come forward here for Endo. Gets to the edge of the D, but another well-timed tackle. Waston's been very good at those one-on-one tackles where he squares up in front of a dribbling opponent and wins the ball cleanly. And that's a foul on Joel Campbell, and it's a free kick to Costa Rica. And Ueda wasn't taking prisoners there as he decided that he wasn't going to allow that counter-attack. He tried to win the ball fairly, and when he couldn't do that, he is rasped across the back of the calf of Joel Campbell and given away the free kick.
Waston's done really well defensively. He just struggles when the ball's at his feet a little bit to play out. It's not what he wants to do. He just wants to defend. He wants to make life difficult, and he's done that for the Japanese players. But from a Japanese point of view, the decision making's been poor. I think one of the things that we spoke about against Germany was the decision making was very good on the night, and it was really good play from them throughout the second half when they made the substitutions, but so far really poor.
Good control there by Ueda. Gives it back to Morita midway inside the Croatian half. Now Endo closer to the penalty area. Doan on the right hand side. Nice left footed ball back to Endo. Tries the shot, and diving in front of him, Yeltsin Tejeda is able to make the block, and Costa Rica survived. That was a bit better from Japan. There was a bit more purpose to it as Yuki Soma will come forward down the left hand side. Sweaty hair down his forehead, rolls it low into the penalty area, but he can't pick out his two teammates in there, Kamada and Ueda, and the ball runs through to Keylor Navas once again. 0-0 it remains with 7 minutes to go to half time.
Well, early on in the game, Soma got the ball within the first 30 seconds of it, or a minute or so, and he ran the fullback and he wanted to get at Fuller, and he took him on, and I thought, here we go, now we've got a game on our hands. He hasn't picked the ball up and done that at all. He hasn't been able to have an influence on the game, and it's been disappointing.
You might remember 8 years ago in Brazil, Costa Rica were in the same group as England. It was a really tough group on paper. Costa Rica against Uruguay, Italy and England, three nations that had all won World Cups in the past. And yet Costa Rica did really well. They topped that group. They went all the way to the quarterfinals. They were beaten in the end in a penalty shootout. Costa Rica didn't lose a single game in that World Cup outside of penalty shootouts. And obviously that really enthused things in the country, and they were hoping that they were going to kick on for it. But they have struggled with the supply line. They haven't been creating the superstars that they were hoping they might go on to do. That said, as we mentioned earlier in the game, you've all got to put it in the context of such a small population, just 5 million people, and by World Cup standards that's so tiny.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult. It's almost like they were blessed in that World Cup with a golden generation of players that came through, and probably at the peak of their careers as well. It is a little bit of an aging team. You look at Oviedo and you look at Campbell, and they are that little bit older now, but let's not beat around the bush. They overachieved in that World Cup.
Don't forget, the outcome of this game will have a bearing on both Germany and Spain, who meet later on. A win for Spain later would see them through if Costa Rica don't win here. If Germany would lose tonight, they would be out unless Costa Rica were to win here. So the outcome of this will have a bearing on what happens later on. 7 o'clock kickoff. Our correspondent John Murray will bring you the commentary alongside Peter Schmeichel. Spain against Germany. It's one of those that I think we've all had in the diary since the draw was made. That is a game that has shone out as being, the first time in the tournament the two big heavyweights come up against each other. Two former winners facing each other in the group stage for the first time at this World Cup. Keisha Fuller stretches, doesn't get a touch, doesn't matter anyway, because it will be a throw into Costa Rica, right full-back position for them.
Conor, I feel like I need to apologise to the 5 Live breakfast listeners, because I said I thought this was going to be a great game. After seeing Japan beat Germany, I thought this would be one of those games where everyone's looking at Japan now thinking, what next? What have they got? This game feels like both teams have gone out.
And look, we on 5 Live we always call it like it is. We won't pretend it's better than the sum of its parts. It's a game that has not had a flow to it. There has not been anything like a dangerous shot on target. We've just had the first yellow card of the game for a frustrated Anthony Contreras, who was late in on Mayor Yoshida, and he was stretching for the ball, and he was very late, and he came right down on the instep. That's a crunch for Yoshida, and correct decision for Michael Oliver to show the yellow card there.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no malice in it. It's not a very poor tackle from Contreras. It's just badly timed, and rightly so awarded a yellow card.
Officially Costa Rica have had a shot on target, but it was a very tame one. Japan haven't had an attempt on target in the game so far. Ueda tries to keep the ball in play by the byline, and he can't get there, so it has gone out for a goal kick to Costa Rica, and 0-0 the scoreline remains for now.
The director of our game has got that board. He's showing headers. The players going up for headers and competing for them, and it just shows you that there's just been nothing in the final third at all. The game is hugely lacked in quality.
Yeah, if you were cutting a television package of the highlights of this game, you're right. I think it would be slow motion replays of headers and maybe some colour in the crowd, but that's about it. There has not been an awful lot to write home about so far between Japan and Costa Rica, but let's hope it all jumps into life. That Argentina-Mexico game wasn't great last night until Messi decided to sprinkle a little bit of magic on this World Cup. I was watching the game. I mean, just there's something about it. You look at Messi in that game and you just think, go on, just do something world class. Just produce some magic. And the way we expect it of him and the way he then delivers it, that is why he's so heralded.
Yeah, and we don't turn around. We're not surprised, are we? That's what Messi does. He's just a genius. And listen, is he the same player? No, he's not. But when you have a player of that quality on the pitch, you just think he can still produce it. Now, I think there's a big difference between him and Gareth Bale. I think when you look at Gareth Bale, he looks tired, doesn't he? And he looks like he can't make those runs anymore.
But
when you look at Messi,
regularly.
Yeah, and when you look at Messi though, you still see those flashes of genius.
Another yellow card is going to be shown here, and it is to Miki Yaman, and he has shown a yellow card, the Japanese right back, so that's one booking a piece so far. Just a final word on Messi and Argentina. I mean, there's no doubt that Argentina are over-reliant on one player, but when he's that player, that's not necessarily the worst thing in the world.
No, it's not, and it's just trying to find him in key positions. But I mean, Mexico pretty much man-marked him out of the game last night, but such is his quality. He knows he just needs one opportunity, one little bit of space, and he punished them.
Japan 0, Costa Rica 0. Paint drying at the moment at the Ahmed Ben Ali Stadium. But coming up later on today, some big names in the competition involved. 1 o'clock kickoff UK time in Group F. Belgium against Morocco. That's the same group as Croatia and Canada. They meet at 4 o'clock. And then later on tonight, as we mentioned a few times already, Spain against Germany. Defeat for Germany would all but eliminate the side that won in 2014. I remember Germany went out in the group stages too 4 years ago, so the thought of Germany being eliminated in the group stage 2 World Cups in a row is something that will very much be scaring them, as Francisco Calvo comes up towards the halfway line for Costa Rica. Japan fall back into their defensive unit, and Costa Rica play it across the back 4 over to the right hand side. Oscar Duarte onto Celso Borges. His ball into the midfield to Herson Torres. Bit of pressure then applied on him by Kamada, and the free kick is given as Torres tried to stand his ground, tried to push away Kamada, and he eventually fouled him. He's dragging his shirt as the 2 players fell to the ground. So free kick to Japan, bang on the halfway line. Might we get a goal here in stoppages at the end of the first half, which would enliven things and give us something to talk about, because at the moment there is not much to discuss in this game.
I'm just wondering what Kelly's going to ask us at half time.
Well, it's only going to be in minutes time, Kelly, so start thinking of something. In a World Cup that we've seen sort of 12 minutes being added on at half time, there's only going to be one here. There's not even injuries and delays and stoppages to talk about. Dearie me. What can we talk about? Celebrity Jungle or Strictly Come Dance? I don't know. There'll be something we can discuss anyway. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to call it now. Worst 45 minutes of the World Cup so far.
Yes, I would totally agree with you. We had a poor second half in the Morocco game that myself and you covered, didn't we, against Croatia, which was really poor. But this has been dreadful.
So things can only get better, as they say, as Joel Campbell plays the ball infield to Yeltsin Tejeda. And there is it, yes, the whistle for the break. So, Kelly, I'm going to give you a brief summation of the best things that happened in that first half. Are you ready? Here you go. Okay, deep breath. That's what's happened.
Connor and Stephen doing sterling work at the Japan-Costa Rica game. Have either of you started your Christmas shopping yet?
I'm getting the laptop out for the second half.
Incredible. I mean, it feels like even if you would have asked me that in the summer, it would have been apt for this game. But seeing as it is getting close to Christmas, but Kelly, I don't even drink tea or coffee, but at this point I'm thinking I need a coffee to wake me up.
Do you know what vibes I'm getting from this? It's a Sunday morning, it's 11:15, people sitting around with a coffee, with a bit of a late breakfast. Nothing too taxing about this game, nothing to get you too excited, just easing you gently into the game.
Yeah, and thinking I wish I'd have stayed asleep in bed. Wish I'd had a lie in.
Everybody falling asleep again. Look, it can only get better in the second half in this one. There's a couple of messages in on social media. Mark saying Japan looking a bit relaxed going forward, midfielders and forward players not connecting. Costa Rica says Sabusio will be exposed in the second half because Japan have more stamina. Noel Fitzpatrick said Japan need to bring on Matoma to break from midfield and create something in the box. I mean, anything would do, but something has to change for the second half, doesn't it?
Yeah, the intensity has to change from especially from Japan, because if they win and they put pressure on the game later on between Spain and Germany, that's huge, and what it can do psychologically for both sets of players in that game. But the tempo's poor, really poor. It's not being played with an intensity like a World Cup game.
I would wonder if the Japanese coach Hajime Moriyasu is in the changing room now, and he's actually tearing strips off his team, saying, okay, you've got your win against Germany, what, you think this World Cup is over now? You know, they're playing like a team who feel, yeah, we're heroes, we're going home to a parade, we've done it all. Like, no, hang on, there's a lot of this World Cup to go, and if Costa Rica were to nick one here, then all that brilliant work that Japan did against Germany would be undone.
Yeah, he warned about that before this game, and maybe that is coming to pass. Hopefully it all picks up in the second half, and if you do get some Christmas shopping done, I'll send you over my address in Qatar just to make sure it's here in plenty of time. Thank you very much for now to Conor McNamara and Stephen Warnock. We'll be back with them following Japan against Costa Rica. The Ahmed Ben Ali Stadium is the venue for that one, and that's about the most exciting thing we have to say about it. Second half coming up, and we'll start to look ahead to Belgium against Morocco after the BBC News with Luke Wilson.
Take the World Cup with you. Qatar 2022
on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live. With the BBC News on 5 Live, I'm Luke Wilson. Encouraging self-harm online is going to be made a criminal offence. The new law is being brought in by the government as an update to the online safety bill following the case of 14-year-old Molly Russell, who took her own life in November 2017. Amanda Stevens, whose son Ollie was murdered in 2021, has been campaigning with Molly's father for better online safety.
Just because something's hard shouldn't mean that it stops us wanting to push forward. At the end of the day, our children are losing their lives. We're losing them from our lives. It's wrong, and we need to, as quickly as possible, but in the best possible way, move forward. And I can't stress how strongly I feel about this. This is positive news.
The BBC understands there have been more than 50 cases of the highly contagious infection diphtheria among asylum seekers who have recently arrived in the UK. It was confirmed yesterday that a man who died after being held at the Manston Centre in Kent had contracted the disease. Rescue teams in Italy are searching for 11 people missing in devastating mudslides on the island of Ischia. The Italian government is expected to approve a state of emergency, and a 31-year-old woman is known to have died. Maria Funiciello lives there.
Yesterday was just like a nightmare. Mud was everywhere because this huge mud flow that has brought through all mud and trees and big rocks and everything it found on its road. So it took out light poles and cars, buses, everything, even houses.
Demonstrations have taken place in cities across China against the government's zero COVID policy. Snap lockdowns to try to control coronavirus have caused anger across the country. Some protesters have publicly called for Chinese President Xi Jinping to step down. And an inspirational force of nature. That's how Doddy Weir's wife Kathy has described him after the Scotland rugby great passed away at the age of 52. He was diagnosed with motor neurone disease 6 years ago. Former Scotland captain Gavin Hastings has called him a giant, while Rob Burrow, who also has the disease, called him his MND hero. Those are your headlines. It's 10:51.
This is a public service announcement.
Weekdays from 2.
It's time for Scott Mills on Radio 2.
Would you mind doing me a quick review?
You're doing brilliant. I'm enjoying you on Radio 2.
You're a very nice man.
Thank you very much. Every time this comes on Radio 2, I turn it right up.
The heads go in, the shoulders go in. I'm like bouncing around on the seat. Probably one of the world's most embarrassing mums because of your show.
Scott Mills on Radio 2.
Tell all your friends on that school run to turn Radio 2 on as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Scott Mills all the way.
Weekdays from 2.
Listen live on BBC Sound.
BBC 5 Live.
The FIFA World Cup, Qatar 2022 with Kelly Cates.
Hello, it's half-time in our opening game of the day. It's Japan 0, Costa Rica 0. And just to give you an idea of the interest levels in that one, the highlight of our morning has been when Gary Flintoff, reporter and producer for 5 Live, walked into the studio with the sweets that he's been buying for the Spain-Germany game a little bit later on. He'll be taking them to the stadium. He's also bought Laib, who is the official mascot for this Qatar 2022 World Cup. It's a hand puppet that looks a little bit like a sort of white flannel. And we're a bit worried that Gary's going to be using this as a little friend to talk to, much in the way that Tom Hanks did with Wilson in Castaway. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll keep an eye on how Gary and Laib are getting on across the course of the day. And of course, we'll be back for commentary of the second half. It can only get better between Japan and Costa Rica. 1 o'clock, it's Belgium against Morocco. Let's head inside the Al Tamama Stadium. We can join our commentary team, Pien Merlenstein and Dion Dublin. Pien, when you're doing your preparation for this game, are you expecting to see a team that features Romelu Lukaku?
To be honest, no. I think he's still struggling with the injury that he's had, the hamstring injury. So I don't think he'll start today. Maybe he might get a couple of minutes, but I don't see him starting, which will be a big shame. But the thing with Belgium, when you look at this team, they are, they call them the golden generation, don't they? They've got some real standout class players. So you'd expect them to quite heavily beat them. But obviously you look back to their last game against Canada, just that 1-0 win, wasn't as comfortable as everyone else was thinking. So it will certainly be an interesting one. Of course, Morocco, they haven't conceded under their new manager either. They got a clean sheet in that goalless draw. Let's hope first of all, for my sake, it's not a goalless draw because I've already had 2 of those.
Yes, but you're on the Golden Mike leaderboard. We were there for that moment when you got the 2 goals.
I know, finally. Dion thinks we'll get goals, so he's positive.
Always, we'll get goals today. 4-3 it'll be. I don't know which way, but it'll be 4-3.
But Dion, look, as Pien was saying, this is a Belgium side that we know is full of talent and has been full of talent for many years now. They're performing in terms of results. They're the number 2 side in the world. A win against Morocco would set a new World Cup record of winning 9 successive group games, and that's for any nation. That's better than the great Brazilian sides of 86 to 94, 2002, 2010. It would break their records, but there's no trophy in all of that, and we don't look as though we've seen the best of this squad in this tournament.
No, I completely agree. There's so much, honestly, their bench and their first 11. They're outstanding individuals. We haven't seen them as a team yet just come together and flow and gel. I think they may do it today, possibly a couple of changes, because Onana came on in midfield in the last game and he started to sort of control that midfield for them physically, and then he just passed the ball to De Bruyne and to Witsel to do their thing. So might be a couple of changes, but I am expecting Belgium to turn up today and give us a show of how the game should be played, because they've got so many amazing players. It's now time, I'm afraid, chaps. You've got to show us something.
Do you think they can show something against Morocco? I'm not quite sure where we stand on Morocco. They got the draw with Croatia, but there wasn't really any kind of standout moment for them.
Not really, but you know, they have some great individuals. You know about Ziyech and Sofiane Boufal. We've seen him in the Premier League as well. So they do have some individuals that can turn a game on their own. So they won't be a walkover. They won't be an easy side to play against. But I do believe that the quality that Belgium have might be too much. If they're on it and they approach the game how they should, Belgium, they should get over the line, but it will be tricky.
And you're predicting goals in that one. We will hold
Always.
you to it. Dion Dublin and Pien Molenstein with commentary of Belgium against Morocco. 1 o'clock for that one here on 5 Live Sport. We'll be back for second half commentary of Japan against Costa Rica very shortly as well. Important few days for the African nations all round here in Qatar. Only Senegal have managed to win so far in the tournament. On Monday, we'll see Cameroon. They face Serbia at 10 o'clock in the morning. And Ghana, who take on South Korea at 1. Obviously, and I think you're getting the message on this, all games live here on 5 Live Sport. So the Black Stars of Ghana lost to Portugal in their opener. There have been a lot of new faces involved in the side in the preparation of this World Cup, including off the pitch in the former Nottingham Forest and Brighton manager Chris Hughton. He's been speaking to the BBC's John Bennett about why the nation is so close to his heart.
Well, I have close links. You know, if I could tell him my full history, I've been fortunate enough to be involved in the World Cup with the Republic of Ireland, which is where my mother's from. But my father's from Ghana, from Accra, Jamestown, Accra. So I've been to Ghana on several occasions. So I've always had that link, and of course to be working for them in the capacity that I'm working for is something that I'm incredibly proud of, and I must admit I've thoroughly enjoyed the involvement. You know, we have a good group of players, an association that want to do the best that they can, and it's still a very exciting prospect for the team and the association to be here.
There are some new players that you've brought in. You've convinced to play for Ghana, Inaki Williams, Tariq Lamptey, Mohamed Salisu, some really good players coming in, but how has that affected the mood? Has that been a challenge to integrate them into the team without upsetting anyone?
No, it hasn't been a challenge, and I think it's only a challenge if you don't have players that are here for the right reasons, and everybody is here for the right reasons. For those that it is their first experience playing for the Black Stars, they are here because that was their choice, and they would have had other choices. So that's always a nice feel. But it's about having the best squad possible, the best competition possible, and we are at a stage now where we have, you know, a lot of players playing in good leagues, good clubs, and that makes the competition even greater.
How are you feeling about the game on Monday then, South Korea, after the defeat against Portugal when you were unlucky, so close to making it 3-3 near the end? How confident are you that you can win that game?
Yeah, well, I think the confidence comes from the feel in the group, and since the normal reaction after the Portuguese game was, of course, one of disappointment, and that takes a little while to get out of the system. But we are all used to it, and we have players that play at club level and sometimes 2 games a week, and you get used to having to bounce back. You're getting used to having to put that defeat behind you, but particularly when you are in the stage that we are here. The mood is very good, and I think it's a realisation that it's a game that we need to do well in, but we are still here, and we are here for a reason. We played against probably certainly seeded the best team in the group against Portugal, and came close. So I think that's what will give the players the confidence of course, going into the game against South Korea.
Someone who really has caught the eye, not just at this World Cup, but this season, is Mohamed Kudus. Tell us more about him and how good you think he can be going forward in his career. How great it is to work with him as well at this young age.
Yeah, good. And I knew about Mohamed before. The wonderful thing, I think, for the Black Stars is that this is a player that's come through the academies in Ghana. A wonderful thing for any young player that's coming through the system, that the country can produce very, very good players. He's playing at, of course, a very big club, and he's had some big moments. Champions League, of course, this season. Can play in a couple of positions, but he's still a young player, and there's still more to come from him. But I think his adaptability, I say he can play in a few positions, and of course he is somebody that can produce, and we need as many of them type players as possible.
That was Chris Hughton talking ahead of the big game for Ghana. They take on South Korea at 1 o'clock on Monday. Live, of course, here on 5 Live Sport. It is day 8 of the World Cup already. We're just about to come to the end of the second round of group matches, and that's normally when a sense of delirium creeps into the proceedings. Juliet Farrington is going to be here at full time in this game between Japan and Costa Rica to take you through the rest of the afternoon. I've just realised, Jules, we were talking about Laib, the mascot.
He's still here.
I'm very much aware Laib is still here. He keeps peering round corners at me. But Laib, the mascot, if you haven't seen, is a little sort of diamond-shaped character,
I think you called it.
Looks like a flannel. But I went to read more about Laib just to give a bit of information on the tournament, and the first thing it says, it's Me, Laib, which is the Taylor Swift song Anti-Hero that's going around at the moment that everybody has in their head, and having daughters of teenage years means that it's completely in my head, and all I've got going around my head is it's me, Laib, I'm the mascot, it's me. And I just thought I'd like to share that so that other people can have that earworm for the rest of the day.
I think what we've done is just set the tone for the second half of Japan and Croatia, where
Costa Rica.
I
like to say day 8, Jules.
Day 8, yeah, we are tired, which has been described as the worst 45 minutes of the World Cup so far.
Yeah, I mean that's fine, but on the upside, it can only get better. We've got the second half coming up, and then we've got Belgium against Morocco and Croatia against Canada. Juliet will bring you that with all the commentary, of course, and they're just about to kick off with plenty to talk about, and a second half, we hope, packed full of goals and incidents for Stephen Warnock and Conor McNamara.
You can hold on to it, Kelly, if you want. If you've anything else to go through, you can keep it for a few more minutes.
The problem is I'll start singing again. Nobody wants that.
Please do. Taylor Swift songs. Thanks very much, Kelly. Right, look, we are here in history. This is a historic moment, ladies and gentlemen. The first World Cup match of this tournament that failed to see a shot on target from either side at half-time. I'm wallowing in the glory of the misery of the first 45 minutes, but yes, it can only get better in the second period. Back underway, Japan in blue, playing from right to left as we look down. Costa Rica in the red. Japan immediately into the attack, and Morita comes in and he drills in a shot, and Keylor Navas was squandering down onto the ground, managed to get it away. Whistle is blown anyway. It's going to be a free kick out, but Morita with a decent surge. That's more like it, Stephen Warnock.
Here we go. We've got a game on our hands. It's suddenly come to life. Lovely play from Morita, who just drops his shoulder onto his left foot, gets the strike in goal. It's a very, very dramatic save from Keylor Navas. It was straight at him, but he dives to his right-hand side and palms it away to safety. 2
international goals in the past for Hidemasa Morita. Played against Tottenham in the Champions League, home and away this season for his club Sporting Lisbon. It's the first sight of goal, it's the first shot on target, and it's the first save of the game so far. If you're just joining our coverage, you didn't miss much in the first half. Japan conceding 12 fouls in those first 45 minutes, the most fouls committed by any team in the first half of a game at this tournament. And we mentioned that Moriyasu, the Japanese coach, might have been upset with that performance. He has made 2 changes at half-time. Takuma Asano has come on and Hiroki Ito has come on. He's taken off the 2 fullbacks. Miki Yaman and Yuko Nagatomo are the 2 who have been replaced. So I think that is clear evidence that the Japanese coach wanted things. It's not that they were playing to plan in the first half, and this was to sort of rope-a-dope their way through it. Clearly, he wants to see much better in this second period.
Yeah, that's definitely right. He wants to make a change. He wants to see those forward positions improve.
Here is Asano, who's come on down the left-hand side, delivers it across. Good defending by Borges, who was back helping out the defence and clears it away, but not very far. And now Endo shoots, and it's blocked by Calvo this time, and they're really under pressure on this Costa Rica defence as a header from Asano's on target but saved by Keylor Navas. The first 3 minutes of this second half have been better than the first 45 that came before.
Yeah, we've suddenly seen the game come to life. We've seen that everything is an improvement in the speed in which Japan are attacking. Now they've got a little bit of speed into the play, and we're seeing the Costa Ricans come under a little bit of pressure.
Just a correction, it's not Yaman who's gone off, it's Ueda. It's the 21 who's gone off, replaced by Takuma Asano, who's playing up front, who came off the bench to score in dramatic circumstances that winner against Germany earlier on in the week. 0-0 it remains, Japan against Costa Rica, but it's a better game now. Soma to the byline, challenged by Fuller just on the edge of the penalty area, and it goes out for, is it going to be a corner kick? Corner to Japan on the left-hand side. They've been fired up, they've been awoken from the slumber of the first 45 minutes, and I really do wish the game had started like this. This is much better, particularly from Japan. The fans are very much roused up too. There's several Japanese fans with drums, and they're giving it full throttle now as the delivery comes in from the left-hand side, headed away by Borges at the front post. It falls to Morita, who's got 2 players around him, and he runs into Brian Oviedo, and the ball goes out for a Japanese throw. Stephen Warner.
There's just an intensity straight away, and what they're seeing differently from Japan is they're not playing the ball into forward positions in square passes. They're now trying to penetrate the back line of Costa Rica, and 2 or 3 times they've been in behind.
Yaman crosses from the right-hand side, just bounced in front of Kendall Waston, and he had to adjust his feet at the last instant, and it comes off his shin pad, and it goes out for a corner. It's another corner to Japan, and their supporters are really helping them here. I mean, it's been a decent atmosphere earlier on before kickoff, but right now these Japanese supporters, they're all, to a man, woman and child, if they're able, up on their feet, and they are very vociferously cheering their team on here. Japan want better. Here comes the corner. In-swinger, headed away by Celso Borges. Back it comes into the penalty area. Ikatora tries to turn and shoot. Then it falls for Endo, and good defending, good blocking as 2 players jump down in front of him, and the ball is repelled away, and up into the air it lands down into the arms of Keylor Navas, the goalkeeper. And mentioning Costa Rican players just throwing their bodies in the way of shots there, Yeltsin Tejeda has picked up an injury in doing so. He made the block of that latest shot, and he's slow to get back up to his feet.
Yeah, and that just shows you what they're trying to do. Costa Rica, bodies on the line. There's a coming together of 2 players. Tejeda, he clashes with his own player, Kendall Waston, and then one of them stays down, is Tejeda. I think he's just took a whack to the knee. I'm sure as well he's just staying down just to stem the tide of the attacks from the Japanese. But it's been a frantic start to the second half, and finally we've got the game that we expected.
Yes, it has been frantic, it has been hurried, it has been much better from Japan. As we're just getting to see a replay of how Yeltsin Tejeda picked up his injury there. He's stretching to make the block, so too is his teammate Kendall Waston, and the 2 of them almost tangle in front of the opponent about to strike the shot. But look, he's back up at his feet. It looks like he's going to be okay to continue.
It would have been a red card. He catches him in the shin. It's a really high challenge from Kendall Waston, but it's just an attempt to go, an attempt to go for the ball, and fortunately that both players put the bodies on the line. They block the shot coming in.
Spoke about names in the first half. Yeltsin Tejeda, his first name, he was given it because his mum, when she was pregnant, was watching television, and the former Russian President Boris Yeltsin was on the television. She thought, that's a nice name, and she called him Yeltsin. And then many years later, a Russian team actually tried to sign him because he got loads of publicity in Russia for having the name, and that didn't happen. But he did play a friendly for Costa Rica in Russia, and it caused a big fuss at the time. They all wanted to see this Costa Rican who was named after the former Russian president. And I know there's a joke there. At least the mum didn't call him Boris. But, I'm better than that, Stephen. I'm not going to go there. I'm going to rise above all of that. As it remains 0-0 at the World Cup in Qatar. Japan 0, Costa Rica 0. Second half, which has started with a much better intent about it, but let's see if the goals will follow as Yoshida plays it forward, and that's unfortunate, just in front of Asano, and it carries through to Navas in the Costa Rican goal.
Really good run from Asano, and we saw those runs from him when he came on when he played against Germany. Got him behind, caused problems. He's the one now looking to stretch the back line. Kendall Waston, he'd lost him, he didn't know where he was. The ball was just hit a fraction too far for him.
Costa Rica try to break into the Japanese half. Anthony Contreras is unable to hold it up, however. And this is the problem for Costa Rica. They're defending like demons, but they could do with a bit of relief here. Here is Joel Campbell down the left-hand side with the orange boots. Doesn't deliver the cross early, and he's got himself into a bit of a cul-de-sac there, and that's disappointing for Costa Rica. They had players in the middle. Joel Campbell, one of their more experienced operators, and he just got caught in six minds there, didn't he?
He did, and the big thing with Joel Campbell is we know he's got great technical ability, he's got such good control. He just doesn't have that burst of pace to get away from someone. There was an opportunity to put the ball into the box, and there's just a real reluctance to do it from the Costa Rican players.
Canada back to the halfway line to Hidemasa Morita. Now helped forward by Ko Ikitura. Right hand side of the field for Japan as they come forward. Plenty of noise inside the stadium. It's already been 5-0 games at this World Cup so far, which, just to put it in context, the last World Cup in Russia there was only one scoreless game in the entire tournament. So it's way above average. I think the opening 16 games of this tournament, 4 of them were 0-0. So, 25% of the games scoreless. But we've had plenty goals in other matches, and there may yet be goals in this one. As Japan have possession, Morita turns inside the centre circle, lays it off to Endo. Endo short for Maya Yoshida. Yoshida comes down the left-hand side with Hiroki Ito, who's one of the two substitutes that came on at the break, and I think Moriyasu will be pleased with the impact that his substitutes have made. They have contributed to this being a better second half so far. Here is Ito again in possession. Plays the ball to the byline, too far in front, much too far in front of Soma. That was a poor pass, and it's a goal kick to Costa Rica way to our left. 0-0.
How many times in games when we watch them do we say there needs to be a change? Or as a fan, you're looking at your team going, I hope the manager makes changes at half time. They've done that, Japan, and hopefully that'll have a big impact on the game. It has so far early on, but there's more to come from this Japan side.
Amongst the Japanese substitutes warming up, Takumi Minamino, familiar face from his time at Liverpool, now playing in France with Monaco, where he has struggled to settle in. I think it's fair to say I don't think he's scored for Monaco yet, but look, we know Minamino, he's a creative player, he's skillful. That might be an option. They've also got Karu Mitoma, who has been making a name for himself at Brighton just as the season progressed, but before things stopped for the World Cup, he went on a little run for Brighton.
Really like him, really aggressive player, and I mean aggressive in the sense of attacks people, really takes the game to defenders, and it's almost a dying art in the game, but he is a sensational player.
It's an art that Japan might well need as this game progresses. 10 minutes played in the second half, still scoreless. This is the World Cup from Qatar on the BBC. Free kick is taken into the penalty area. Kendall Waston battles for it. Ball goes out of play. He says corner. Referee says no. And Costa Rica, frustrated, have to turn and jog back into position. And it's a goal kick for Suichi Gonda, the Japanese goalkeeper, away to our right-hand side. A reminder that the big games keep coming. Belgium against Morocco. A 1 o'clock kickoff, UK time in Group F. For Morocco and Croatia, it is going to go down to the final game regardless. The way that group is set up, even if they win, even if they lose, they won't go through or they won't be knocked out. Morocco and Croatia today. Croatia who take on Canada. That's the 4 o'clock game. Canada do know that they've got to get their Canadian ice skates on, because if they lose, Canada will be out. And the climax of today's action, 7 o'clock this evening. Group E, this group, Spain against Germany. Defeat for Germany would leave them on the precipice, and depending on the outcome of this game, Germany could go out of the World Cup tonight. John Murray will be with Peter Schmeichel for commentary of that game here on 5 Live and BBC Sounds as Hiroki Ito comes forward for Japan. Down the left-hand side, Soma, that's better, comes in field, but it's a rash shot. He dragged it, and it came off the outside of his boot, and from a good position, it curls away. So it's one of those that it ends up almost going out for a throw-in. It is so off target in the end. But it was like young Enzo last night for Argentina, getting into the position, but the shot wasn't there.
Yeah, and didn't go for the inside of the foot, went for the laces and just cuts across the ball, slightly off balance, leaning away from the goal, and that's why it slices away. But it's better. He has been the best player on the pitch for Japan, and the most creative anyway, Soma, who's looked to take on players and actually make something happen.
Fuller brings it back into defence. Duarte's back pass wasn't great there, and Navas was under pressure. It's not a good clearance, but the back pass was dreadful. Maybe a chance here for Japan as Rohan picked it up on the edge of the area. Costa Rican defenders did very well there to ensure that Rohan wasn't able to shoot with the goalkeeper out of position. Still the attack continues. Mickey Yaman, edge of the penalty area. He's got support from Rohan once again. Now on the right hand side it's Wataru Endo. Back to Ritsu Doan. And Costa Rica have done well, but looked to be a very dangerous position. Got immediately shut down again through sheer weight of numbers. But that was a chance there, and it all came from a bad back pass, which Keylor Navas found himself scrambling for. We've seen defensive errors lead to many goals in this World Cup. Costa Rica got away with one there. Yeah,
just an under-hit pass from Duarte. Sano takes one in the face from the clearance of Keylor Navas. That was so close to being an error from Costa Rica, which could have cost them dearly.
Come Japan again. Hiroki Ito tried to loft one into the penalty area, but Kendall Baston was there and able to clear it away. It bounces up onto the chest here of Francesco Galvo, and he's unable to fully clear it away, and it goes out for a throw-in to Japan on the far side. So Japan will remain on the attack. Their supporters remain buoyant. Remember, a win here for Japan would make it 2 out of 2, and they'd be on their way through to the last 16. This game hasn't quite had the magnetism of their win against Germany, but the best that Japan did muster in that opening match was in the closing stages of the game, so maybe they might repeat the trick here. That's not going to do it though. Pass from Ito too far in front of Soma, and it goes out for another goal kick to Costa Rica, still 0-0.
Well, they had a really good start, but it just seems to have dropped off again now. Costa Rica finding the shape as they did in the first half, and Japan struggling to find passages of play, patterns of play, and they're struggling to find positions on the pitch to hurt Costa Rica.
They come again though. This is Ritsu Doan, gets to the midway point through the Costa Rican half, but he can't find the pass to one of his teammates up around the edge of the penalty area. Costa Rica clear it away, and Wataru Endo picks up possession once again. This is Kamada, midway inside the Costa Rican half. Good one-touch football here. Energetic defending from the Costa Ricans in their red shirts, keeping across all the options, trying to limit the options for the Japanese, who've got to retreat back to the centre circle again. And Maya Yoshida, the former Southampton man. Now it's Endo in the midfield with the bright red boots. Back to Yoshida once again. Japan holding onto the ball but going nowhere here inside the central third of the pitch. Endo with both arms hanging down low but outstretched palms, and that's always the signal to say, come on, give me options, I need someone to pass it to here. Ito makes himself available on the left hand side. No way forward there either though. Gerson Torres was shielding in front of him. Japan will try their look through the middle. Kamada is going to give it away here, stretching to receive the pass, and Costa Rica will be happy with that. They've been able to nullify the Japanese threat, and in the end Japan just ran out of options there in the game that remains scoreless. They will come again with Morita. Back to Maya Yoshida. Centre circle, Japan playing from right to left as we looked out. 2/3 of the pitch now covered in shade as the sun has shifted from where it was at kick-off. This is the stadium where in 48 hours time England will take on Wales. Japan have possession, still inside the Costa Rican half. Ito came on as a substitute at half-time. They've really retreated into their shell now. It's possession football for Japan, but they're not going forward at all. They're holding on to it inside the central area. Now they might try to edge it on. Endo gets up to the edge of the tee, surely fouled. His legs were taken out from under him by Herson Torres. I think there was 2 fouls there, really. Yellow card is shown. Free kick to Japan. This is the most dangerous set-piece position of the game so far.
Yeah, it was Borges who goes in for the tackle, and he's so late on Endo. He gets his ankle from behind, almost sort of rakes his studs down his Achilles, right on the edge of the box, and a dangerous position for Japan. However, as central as it is, this is such a difficult skill for the attacking player or the free kick taker to get it up and down over the wall and cause a problem.
Right,
for
we spoke about
Navas.
Brighton's Karu Mitoma. He's going to be brought on. Mickey Gamad, that there was some confusion at halftime. It looked like he'd been taken off. He will now depart the field. So Japan are going for it here. They take off the right back and they bring on the attacker Karu Mitoma. 2 late goals from the bench against Australia to secure Japan's qualification for this tournament. We've been impressed with him in recent times with Brighton in the Premier League. Can Mitoma light up this game, which is in need of a spark, at the Aban Bin Ali Stadium in the city of Arayan, 20 kilometres away from Doha? Japan 0, Costa Rica 0. Costa Rica have erected a huge wall. They've got 6 men in it. They've also got a draft excluder lying on the ground. Yuki Soma is standing over this. Ritsu Doan as well. Perspiration flowing down their temples as they weigh up the options here. Surely Japan have got to have a striker goal here. Difficult as it is, as you've illustrated, Stephen, with the proximity to the goal. But they've discussed it in deep consultation. Now they both step away. It'll either be the right boot of Soma. In fact, it will be. Soma hits it, and it's too high. Sails over the top. He couldn't get the dip you mentioned, Stephen.
Such a difficult skill. It almost has to be floated over the wall, but the worry is that it's too easy for the goalkeeper, and he can just take his steps to the side and sort of catch the ball. He tries to whip it. He tries to come round it with his right foot and bend it into the near left-hand corner, top corner, but as I said, such a difficult skill.
Yuki Soma, who's one of these Japanese players who's only ever played his club football in his homeland. There's very few of them. Most of them play abroad or have done earlier on in their career. As Wataru Endo has possession for Japan, just about 15 yards outside the penalty area of the attack. Soma, who switched over to the right wing, tries to cut back in field, and his legs are taken out from underneath him, and that's going to be another free kick to Japan, this time a crossing position on the right hand side. Now, double change coming up for Costa Rica, and they're going to bring on 2 teenagers, and one of them is a familiar name to Sunderland fans, the Sunderland winger Jewison Bennett, who's been making a name for himself recently. We'll tell you all about him when he comes on. And the other is Brandon Aguilera, who is 19 years of age, and he signed for Nottingham Forest in the summer, but he was sent on loan back to Costa Rica. There's talk that he might be going back to the City Ground to actually play for Forest in January. But those will be the 2 changes. Contreras, who was on a yellow card, is taken off, and Herson Torres is taken off as well. So Bennett will come on, left winger, and Brandon Aguilera, who's more of a central player. But Costa Rica coach here has decided, right, let's throw on the kids and let's see what they can do. 0-0 it remains for now.
First thing Costa Rica have to do is defend this free kick. Dangerous position on the right hand side. Quality from set pieces hasn't been great from either team. So can we see something now that causes a problem for Costa Rica?
Everyone back defending for Costa Rica. They've erected a 2-man wall, even though this is way out on the right hand side. It's Soma's cross. It's headed away by Borges. Good defensive header, decent amount of distance outside the penalty area, but picked up once again by the Japanese. He'll come at it again. Mitoma gives it in field to Hiroki Ito. He's forced to retreat now, and in fact turns from midway inside the Costa Rican half and goes all the way back to the goalkeeper Gonda, away to the right hand side. We've played 20 minutes now in the second half. There's just over a quarter of this game remaining. So Jewison Bennett, who's come on, 18 years of age, made his debut for Sunderland in a game against Preston in October, and he very much endeared himself to the Sunderland fans because him and his dad were spotted travelling home after the game on a local bus. So no airs and graces about Jewison Bennett, and he's done okay. He's on the fringes of Sunderland. You wouldn't say he's completely burst into the team and become a regular, but he's only 18, and they're hoping he could be the next big thing.
Well, that's what they'll be hoping. They've found a gem. A lovely story. Like your stories, Conor, you find stories from everywhere, don't you, about different players?
It's a day that we've needed a few stories, Stephen. We might need a few more. In Ireland, there's these old storytellers called Shanakees who tell these stories that go on for days, and I kind of feel like we might need to bring one of them in as we beg for an opening goal in Al Rayyan. 0-0 between Japan and Costa Rica, and there's going to be another change, and they're going to bring on their other Ito. Hiroki Ito is already on the pitch for Japan, and now we're going to see Junya Ito, who is going to come on for what is his 40th cap. So both teams ringing in the changes, both coaches trying to find the spark, trying to find some inspiration in a game that remains very tight. But remember, a free goal at either end could dramatically shift the whole impetus of the group, with Spain and Germany playing later on. Japan, who were delighted to beat the Germans in their opening game, but if they lose this, all that work goes to waste.
Yeah, and that's the concern for the Japanese fans and the players. They just haven't played with an intensity that makes you think, we want to get out this group, we want to cause an upset and be the team that progresses, and again to put the pressure on the two teams playing later on this evening.
So Junya Ito has come on in place of Ritsu Doan. Doan was the player who came off the bench to score the first goal against Germany on Wednesday. He's fourth for the national team. There'll be no similar heroics from him, but Junya Ito is on now. We'll see what he can do wearing number 14 as Soma gives away possession. Soma, who had started the game wide left but is now very much playing as a right winger and up against the Costa Rican left back Brian Oviedo. Can't remind you enough what's coming up later on, because there's some big games. Belgium against Morocco. We'll see Kevin De Bruyne and company in action. That's the 1 o'clock kickoff UK time in Group F. A win for Belgium will see them through to the last 16 today. In Group F later on at 4 o'clock it'll be Croatia against Canada as another attack breaks down. It was Morita who tried to bring it into the penalty area there, but too many Costa Rican defenders back there. Croatia against Canada at 4, and then the big one, Spain against Germany at 7 o'clock. You can listen to all the games across 5 Live and BBC Sounds. Tomorrow, Brazil and Portugal are both in action. Brazil plays Switzerland, Portugal play Uruguay. 2 of the 4 games being played tomorrow, Monday. And always at World Cups, it's like Christmas time. You think, what day is today? Is today Sunday? I think it is. Yeah,
completely lost.
You lose the track of yourself, particularly in the group stages when the games are coming thick and fast. 0-0 though in this one, and I have a feeling, Stephen, 20 years from now, hopefully we'll be alongside each other commentating on the World Cup, which will probably be played in, I don't know, Scotland or somewhere, and we'll be saying, do you remember that Japan guy? And you'll say, no, I don't remember it at all. It's been one of those. Head away at the back by Ikatura, and Hiroki Ito should be able to clear it, helped out by Yuki Soma. Japan will come through the middle, but it just, despite the increase in tempo from Japan since the break, it's still a terrible game of football.
Conor, I will remember this game, because I will be thinking to myself, there's 67 minutes of my life that I won't be getting back again.
Oh dear. And as I say, they can't all be class. And this is why we really, really enjoy the games that are brilliant, and we realise that we are privileged to be there, and we enjoy the moment because we know it's always possible that it could be a game like this.
Yeah, and that's listen, this is part of the World Cup, and we don't know the feelings amongst the players, and the fatigue that they're feeling, the temperature that they're feeling on the pitch, how draining that could be. But this game has the feel that there needs to be something more injected into it. The pace of it needs to be lifted.
Here's a decent turn, mind you, and Junya Ito breaks to the edge of the area, goes down, he turned well. It's going to be a free kick. It was just outside the penalty area. There'll be a yellow card shown too, and that could have been the moment that opened the door in this game. Really good turn by Junya Ito, who just come on. He was 10 yards outside the penalty area, turned the defender inside out, and there was a scramble, and I think it was Calvo, and Calvo realised he was in big trouble, and he commits the foul. No intent to play the ball at all, and that's a yellow card for him and a free kick to Japan in shooting distance.
Really good free kick to give away, and a clever foul from Calvo. He just knew he was in trouble. He knew Ito was going into the box, and he was potentially going to get a shot away. He's actually smacking his head in disappointment, Calvo, because he knows he's been turned. But I think he's committed a really sensible foul there.
Yeah, that's his World Cup over after today, because he will miss the next game if booked. And unless they were to come up with a victory here and do well in the final group game as well against the Germans, well, there may not be another opportunity for Francisco Calvo. Right now, the Costa Rican concern is this Japanese free kick just outside the penalty. The foul happened inside the D, so this is very central. And it's that problem you mentioned before, Stephen. How do you get it over the wall and back down again? This needs precision, and no surprise to see Costa Rica put a draft excluder lying down underneath the wall as well, because you would be tempted to try and put it underneath.
Yeah, you'd be tempted to hit it hard and low under the wall and hope that they jump, but maybe Japan need to shift it a little bit just to change the angle of attack.
Soma was way off target earlier, I think, by the body language. Kamada will hit this one, and he does, and he went for power, and it's straight into the wall. Comes back out to Soma, who tried to follow up, but the wall does its job a second time. And Costa Ricans' defensive regard holding firm there to keep Japan at bay. We've had some correspondence on social media. Matthew on Twitter says, and I want to encourage this, by the way, it's a dreadful game, so if any of our listeners have insights they want to share with us, do get in touch at 5Live on BBC 5 Live on Twitter, 5 Live Sport I should say, at 5 Live Sport. Matthew says the most exciting thing about this game, and you spotted this, Stephen, is the second half change of boots from Joel Campbell. He was wearing gold boots in the first half, he switched to orange, and Matthew predicts that maybe it was that he felt Campbell didn't deserve to wear gold, that this game was so poor it didn't deserve the gold boots. What do you reckon?
I think he could be right. I think they should all be wearing black boots after this game. Yeah, I didn't notice that, so good spot.
Yeah, good spot. We will take all your contributions because frankly there is not much to describe here in terms of action. It's been a dreadful game. It's been the worst of the World Cup so far. But it could still be on a knife edge if either of these teams could get their act together and actually deliver a goal. There's been a whole host of substitutions. Now Japan have brought on 4 players. There's no doubt they're getting, I mean, it's better than it was in the first half. They are getting closer, but still there hasn't been a moment in the game where you felt Keylor Navas has had to pull off a world-class save. He's had one decent save that he's had to make in the game so far. Foul on Joel Campbell, free kick to Costa Rica inside the centre circle. And we've now reached the 70th minute of the match. It was Endo and Yoshida both challenging in at the same time, and Joel Campbell to give away that free kick. 5 Live and BBC Sounds at the World Cup. The noise, the singing continues from both sets of supporters. There's been more to write home about really from the respective fans than there has been their players in this game. Joel Campbell's free kick. Could this be the moment for Costa Rica? High into the penalty area. Good header won by Itakura. Dribbling his way out of defence comes Junya Ito. He's been good since coming on. Passes too far though in front of Takuma Asano. And despite sprinting after it, he can't get there, and the referee blows the whistle because he pushes the defender in the back. And that is going to be a free kick to Costa Rica. Good brave defensive header by Ko Itakura there to get the ball out. The replays are continuing to show that incident because off the ball Wataru Endo seemed to collide with, was it Waston, and I think it was a suggestion that might have been a tangle worthy of a VAR review inside the penalty area, but the video assistants will have looked in the background and they decided no further action necessary.
Yeah, I think they felt that Endo had a clear pull of the shirt on Waston, but for me there has to be more. It was just two players coming together, feeling each other where they are, and there wasn't too much in that. But do you know what I found really strange, Connor? So Campbell's like one of your most experienced players, an attacking player. He's taken free kicks on the halfway line to kick them into the opposition penalty box, and you're thinking, well, if the ball was to fall to anyone, you'd like it to fall to him. Yeah. Very strange tactics. No,
and it's true, and it's the kind of thing you'd expect. Let's say he was 38 and you would think, okay, he's in the team because he was the famous old player and he takes the free kicks out, but Joel Campbell's 30, you know, he should be, you're right, I mean, he's a poacher. Ball could drop him in the penalty area. I completely agree with that. By the way, because we're now having to use all the prep in this game with very little action, I'm going to tell you my Joel Campbell story, which is in, hang on, something might be about to happen. More on that in a moment. Soma down the right hand side for Japan. Oh, there was two screaming for it in the middle, and he's blazed his cross over the top of both of them. That was a real opportunity for Japan. Soma got his head up, saw what he wanted to do. Two teammates unmarked at the back post, but the cross disappointingly sails over the pair of them.
Well, not for the first time, lacking quality. Lovely play from Soma down the right hand side. He delayed his cross, and it was almost like he didn't trust himself to put it in first time, so he delayed and then he struck the ball in, but overcooked it to the back post. And Costa Rica just thankful that it goes over the heads of the defenders.
Japan 0, Costa Rica 0. So Joel Campbell at the 2014 World Cup in Brazil, he scores against Uruguay, and he decides this is a big moment, he'll remember it for the rest of his life, and he wants to hoover up all the merchandise, and he makes sure he gets a Uruguayan shirt, and he takes some memorabilia for the stadium, and someone says to him, what you should get is you should get the Panini sticker of yourself, the Joel Campbell sticker, that this World Cup, because you're gonna remember this tournament forever. So he goes out, and he's a professional footballer, he's got a few bob, he can afford stickers, buys a few packs. No Joel Campbell, buys a few more packs, can't get the Joel Campbell, asking all his mates for swaps, no one's got Joel Campbell. He ends up buying 500 packs in one go, sits there, opens them all up, no Joel Campbell. So he didn't get his sticker.
Did they know that he didn't make a sticker of him that year? Surely that's the answer. Well, you'd write to Panini, wouldn't you, and say,
I believe he did get one in the end, but not after buying in one go 500 packs of stickers and not finding his own one. Japan on the attack, cross on the right hand side, Kamada tries to jump and he couldn't quite get the spring in his heels. He turns and he applauds the delivery, but he was well marshalled by Keisha Fuller, who stuck close to him. It was a leap from Kamada, but to be fair, the cross was very high. He did get up, he just couldn't get quite as high as the cross required him to be. The last touch came off Fuller. It means a corner to Japan, which will be taken by Yuki Soma on the left hand side, and again it's played in towards the back post, but the whistle blows. There's pushing in there. Was there pushing in? It seemed to be that Michael Oliver had blown his whistle before the ball went out of play. However, he's now signalling that it will be a corner kick on the other side, so I'm not quite sure what happened there.
Anyway, he was telling Yoshida to get up.
Was that it? Well, he was saying that it's not a foul.
Yeah,
right,
Yoshida wanted a penalty. He went down under pressure, and I think he wanted a penalty, and Michael Oliver was saying, absolutely not. Get up, get on with it. And Michael Oliver and Yoshida are actually having a laugh and a joke about it right now.
Yeah, we're just seeing the replay here. It's almost like two Japanese players run into each other, Yoshida and Kamada, and that's why Michael Oliver was waving his hands, because he was saying, no, I've seen that, you've run into each other, that is not a penalty. Mind you, they haven't taken the latest corner yet, which is often a sign that the VAR is looking at it. I think it is going to be taken now. No further intervention. Barely had an offside decision in the game. We've had no VAR controversy. I'd actually take that now. That's how desperate we are for action. I would love a big long VAR delay, because we could talk about that, because there's been nothing else to talk about in this dreadful game so far. Look, there's had to be one. There had to be one stinker of the World Cup. Can Japan rouse it? Here comes Endo to within 10 yards of the penalty area on the right hand side. He's got support from Ito who does a little dance over it. That's a good pass. In low to the feet of Kamada, who wasn't expecting it, and it bounces away from him. Poor control, and Costa Rica are able to clear away. That's disappointing for Japan. A promising build-up, let down by Kamada's first touch on the edge of the area. Now down the other end, could there be something here? No, there can't, because Fuller is offside as he tried to collect on the edge of the Japanese penalty area. Costa Rica, whose World Cup participation is dangling by a thread now, they have got to start throwing the kitchen sink of this at some stage.
Fuller, who found himself in an advanced position, goes offside because he's just not used to being in that position, over eager to advance into an attacking position. The game's just sadly lacking quality in the final third.
Yes, they're still packing the defence in the midfield, Costa Rica. They've brought on young Brandon Aguilera and Jewison Bennett, the Sunderland player we spoke about, and they're the two furthest up the field, but so often both of them are being dragged in to help out the defensive effort in the middle as well. But when Costa Rica do win it, they don't have that outlet to play to up front, and you almost think they've got to sacrifice those defensive commitments now, be a little greedier, Costa Rica, or else their World Cup will be in such jeopardy, because okay, they will have a game to go after this, but it's against Germany, and even if the Germans were out, you would still think that's going to be such a difficult game for Costa Rica. Here, 0-0 against Japan. This could be their best chance. Ball is scooped forward. Backpedaling, Hiroki Ito wins the header to clear it away, but they haven't fully cleared it. This could be the chance. Tieda into the area. Fuller! Costa Rica score! Keisha Fuller sparks an invasion of the substitutes off the bench, and Costa Rica, who didn't have a single shot on target in the game up until now, with 80 minutes on the clock, they take the lead against Japan, and you can't make this up. Japan, who've been dreadful today, having beaten Germany last time out, they're now 1-0 down against Costa Rica, the same Costa Rica who were beaten 7-0 by Spain. You just never know. They're looking at the replays, but Fuller's onside. It's a brilliant finish. It's Japan 0, Costa Rica 1.
Well, arguably one of the most experienced players from Japan makes a mistake. It's a lazy ball from Yoshida into midfield. Morita can't get hold of it. He's got no way of getting hold of the ball. It's pounced upon. A quick pass into Fuller, and then Fuller, who got caught offside before, this time holds his run perfectly and then bends it into the far top corner, and the goalkeeper has absolutely no chance of getting anywhere near it. Gonda is helpless. He's just caught with flat-footed on the line. I don't think he expects the shot to come in. We've got a shock on our hands.
This will not be the 6th goalless draw of the tournament. A sombre, staid match has suddenly burst into life, and Keisha Fuller will never have to buy a drink in Costa Rica again. He is the hero. Japan don't know what's hit them. Minamino was about to come on as a sub. He's furious down there. He has come on in place of Soma now, but they were about to make that change when they've conceded, and this is it for Japan now. They're under huge pressure. 82 minutes on the clock. That glorious win against Germany is going to count for nothing here if they lose to Costa Rica.
You called it before the game, Conor. You said exactly those words, and it couldn't be truer. I mean, what a disaster this is for Japan. After such an impressive display against Germany, they've just looked so poor today.
It was a game crying out for a bit of magic, and different caliber of player, of course, but a little bit like Messi last night. Someone just popped up and says, right, I'm going to have a go here. And Fuller's shot, which was parried by the goalkeeper, Gonda got his hand to it, but he couldn't quite push it away, and it nestled into the top corner. And it's Japan 0, Costa Rica 1. And if you've been with us at 5 Live from the get-go, thank you for sticking with us, because boy, it was dreadful, but maybe worth it in the end for that goal, because Costa Rica are on the verge of creating a big World Cup story here, and on the edge of shaking this group up. This opens the door again for Germany. The Germans win against Spain, they'll have the same number of victories of Spain and Japan going into the final game. This could be very, very big moment in the Group B, as another yellow card is shown, and this time to Itakura, and Japan are losing their discipline here. They're losing their way in a game that looked on paper to be so much easier than their opening victory. This is all going wrong for Japan.
Oh, it's going horribly wrong for them. They just look devoid of ideas. They just look lost completely as to how to respond to this. And Chris Sutton has cursed them. He said this would be a victory for Japan, didn't he?
Yes, Chris said his predictions have been very amusing during the World Cup. Here is the Brighton player Karu Mitoma, and they're just going for it now, Japan, as they must do. They've left 2 back in defence. Everyone else is up in attack, as that's a careless ball played for. There's been too many of those today from Japan. Through balls overstruck that carry through to the goalkeeper. That must have happened 15 times in the game.
Yeah, just a pointless ball. Just hoping that someone's going to run onto it. Not played with the idea of seeing someone getting eye-to-eye contact and knowing that that's the run that they're going to make.
The culture that Minamino is on, the former Liverpool man, can he spark something? Because Japan desperately needs something now. As the clock ticks on, 6 minutes of normal time to play. It's a tournament that we've become well accustomed to lengthy add-ons, but there haven't been delays in this match, Stephen.
No, and the big thing is, Conor, I don't see a goal coming from Japan, whereas against Germany you felt there was one coming because of the way that they played on the break. This game plan hasn't suited them, or the way that the matches has set up, and Costa Rica sitting deep and then Japan trying to break them down. It just shows that they don't have the capabilities to do that.
Endo was challenged by Joel Campbell near the halfway line. Japan hold on to possession. It has been a pedestrian performance of the Japanese in the main so far, but they've got to really go for it now, with time dramatically running out in Al Rayyan. The first of 4 games today. We're going to bring you on 5 Live and BBC Sounds for the World Cup. You can keep across Belgium against Morocco from 1 o'clock, Croatia, Canada at 4, and the big one, Spain against Germany in this group, starts at 7, and both of those players will be keeping an eye on the outcome of this, and this is going to shake the feathers in Group E, because you're going to end up with a group where with Germany and Spain still to play their second game, that everyone apart from Germany will have had a win in the group so far. and this is Hiroki Ito on the left-hand side. If Germany can beat Spain tonight, which, given how well Spain played in the first match seems unlikely, but, this is Germany. If Germany win tonight, this group is going to be wide open going into the final match.
I just wonder what the reaction will be in Japan to Moriyasu's decisions to change 6 players before the game. Did he take it too lightly? Did he expect the team just to go out and concentrating on that third game? Huge questions will be asked of him.
That's it for me. I think it's a great story beating Germany. I looked at the body language of the players as they came out. The changes you mentioned, Stephen, were they already looking ahead to the Spain game? Did Japan today get ahead of themselves? Is going to be a narrative to discuss in the aftermath of this one. 4 minutes of normal time to play. Morita has possession. They've struggled to get Minamino into the game since coming on. Here is Asano helping it on now. Minamino in the penalty area, just couldn't bring it with them, and Fuller, the goal scorer, was the last defender. Minamino went down, but I don't think there was a foul. He's holding his left elbow. The ball is cleared away, and Michael Oliver says play on, no VAR review.
No, definitely no penalty. He just loses his foot and gets the ball stuck under his feet. If he'd have actually gone one more pass over, Ito was down the right hand side and perhaps could have got himself a shot at goal. But that was the best play we've seen from Japan. It's taken till the 87th, 86th minute.
There's not been enough of that for them today. Precise passing into the penalty area. Minamino, first we've seen of him, but unable to get a shot through in the end, as we get to see slow motion replay after slow motion replay of that Kirscher-Fuller goal. Costa Rica, with their population of 5 million, are leading Japan and their population of 125 million. And this is what the World Cup does. It can make a hero out of you, and it can dump you on your backside. And Japan, who've had the roller coaster of a week, the highs of that victory over Germany, but they'll be feeling very low and despondent right now. Is there to be a late Japanese equaliser in this one? 2 minutes plus the stoppages to go. 5 Live from the BBC and BBC Sounds. Hiroki Ito helps it on to Mitoma on the left-hand side. Up against Fuller. Lovely footwork from Mitoma. Brings it into the penalty area. Pulls it back. Kamada shot. Blocked down. They can't get it away. And Keylor Navas grabs it in the end. It was pinball inside the 6-yard box. It must have come off 4 different players there. Brilliant from Mitoma to dribble along the byline into the penalty area, and he pulled it back from Kamada. That was the big chance. He couldn't get his laces through it. He couldn't apply the shot. It was a side foot effort, saved by the right boot of the goalkeeper Keylor Navas, and then it bounced, ricocheted, pinballed around until Navas was able to grab it again into his big thick white gloves, and Costa Rica might be holding on here for a famous World Cup victory.
What a moment for Japan. They should have got themselves back in the game. Asano, fresh air shot as the ball comes across from Mitoma. Brilliant play down the left-hand side from Mitoma. He just skins his man. He goes past him effortlessly. The goal scorer, Fuller. But then it's the pinball, and Keylor Navas just delighted to see the ball end up back in his hands.
Another change for Costa Rica. They want some fresh legs into the midfield. Celso Borges, 34 years of age, 157th cap for him today, is hooked. He's given everything out there. Houston Salas comes on, a defensive midfielder, to try and shore things up now. Costa Rica so close, and I love the stories of redemption you get at a tournament like this. Costa Rica beaten 7-0 in their opening match. They could have felt sorry for themselves. They frankly could have given up. They've come out here, and against a team who had beaten Germany last time, Costa Rica are on the verge of a redemptive win that will see them have their heads held high as they go into their final game against the Germans.
Crazy game of football, isn't it? Just absolutely incredible how it ebbs and flows, and the emotions are of a roller coaster, and that is exactly what Costa Rica will be feeling now. I think they were questioned after the Spain game. Embarrassing, they were called. They won't be embarrassing to the nation today.
Here is Hiroki Ito, left-hand side of the midfield. Endo in possession now. Japan have committed all their players upfield. There's a line of red-shirted Costa Rican defenders back there. As we've moved into stoppages, I didn't see what was going to be added on. We're into stoppage time, though, at the end of the game in Al Rayyan, as another attack goes amiss. Minamino made a darting run towards the byline right-hand side. And the story of the day for Japan, a team who pride themselves on their precision and their accuracy, and they've just not had that today. The passing has not been good enough. It is 6 minutes that will be added on for additional time at the end of this game.
Incredibly, Japan will be hoping that they can just get a draw out of this game now. But the passing's been poor. The energy levels, which has really surprised me. You look at the energy levels in the game against Germany, they were just full of it. They were just up and down the pitch, relentless in the way that they closed down, the way that they supported the front players, but they haven't had that at all today.
Well, if you're German, you are loving this from Costa Rica. This opens up the gateway. I mean, even now, even if Germany were to lose to Spain tonight, there is still a chance they could go through in the final group game if they can win that. That is the door that this opens for Germany. They could have back-to-back defeats and still go through, because nobody expected this from Costa Rica, as Joel Campbell has possession on the left-hand side. Japan, who were dreaming of winning the group after their opening victory against the Germans, now they've got to scramble to stay in contention as well. Two players have got in a tangle off the ball. Michael Oliver spotted it, waves play on. Kendall Waston, who's been really good today, he's a no-nonsense, big, strong defender, but he's been, he's just about stayed on the right side of the law today, and he wins another big challenge against Asano there, and it's going to come back, I think, for a free kick to Japan.
I think Michael Oliver's let it go. I think he's just said to Keylor Navas, who's got the ball in his hands, just carry on. But you're right, Kendall Waston's been outstanding at the back. He's been aggressive in everything that he's done. Not the greatest on the ball, as I said earlier on in commentary, but that's not his game.
Costa Rica have picked themselves up off the canvas today, and they've given us one of the World Cup stories. And, that heavy defeat against Spain will have really hurt. But look at them now. Can they hang on is the question. As Mitoma down the left-hand side, he's become the danger man for Japan. Pulls it back, but Asano can't pull the trigger again. And we've said it a few times, but the sheer weight of numbers of the Costa Rica defenders created a barrier there. Mitoma, well, he's making a huge case to say he should start the next match. He's been brilliant since coming on.
Yeah, he's done really well. He's been aggressive in taking the defender on the fullback, and Fuller's not been able to deal with him. Again, on the outside of him, gets to the byline, pulls the ball back, but good defending from Costa Rica. They sense the danger and they snuff it out.
I think we should say, as we see an image here of a Costa Rican fan who's going through all the emotions. He had his head in his hands, he looked like he was crying, now he's up cheering and roaring and dancing. Costa Ricans don't know what to do here. There's this vacuum that we are in of added on time. We've played 3 minutes now, there's at least 3 more to go. Japanese fingernails will be bitten. But since scoring the goal, Costa Rica have offered nothing in attack. I mean, they've had one shot on target in 2 games, and they might be about to win.
I was going to say,
here.
what do you mean since the goal? They didn't offer anything before that either.
Before or after, just during that moment, Keisha Fuller's one glorious shot could make the World Cup here for Costa Rica and keep their chances alive going into the final group game. 4 minutes now have expired of stoppages. This game, which was dull as dishwater, has become intriguing at the finish, as Fuller's got to jump here under pressure from Mitoma leaning into him, and Fuller really is playing the hero's part here. He's been a warrior in defence. Look at this, injured, crawling back onto the pitch, because you don't want to be injured off the pitch. That's not going to hold up play, and Fuller, despite the incredible agony, managed to get up, get on the pitch and then fall down again.
Brilliant. Using all the experience of his teammates in and around him as well. Get yourself back on.
Another change for Costa Rica. They take off Joel Campbell, the forward. They bring on the defender Daniel Chacon, and he will come on, and they are just going to defend the late siege now. Costa Rica, this could still end in disappointment for them if Japan can nick a late equaliser. The coach Hajime Moriyasu, who looks resplendent down there in the crazy circumstances. You think of the scenes on the Argentinian bench when Pablo Aimar looked like he was in absolute physical distress last night. Moriyasu looked calm as you like. He's got his waistcoat buttoned up, he's got his tie tied right up to the top. He's keeping it calm inside. Supporters, though, are beginning to look more anguished. Encouragement from the Japanese fans. Fear, really, from the Costa Ricans. The fear of losing this lead that they've so fortuitously come across. As Katora comes forward. Ball down the right-hand side. Controlled by Kamada, but the referee's whistle blows for the earlier foul, which had been on Ito, and that is a free kick. There's an image on our screens of a fair-haired lady supporting Costa Rica. Her eyes are shut, really tightly closed. She's got her hands clasped in fervent prayer, and all of Costa Rica just wants to hear this full-time whistle blow. We have played the 6 minutes now. 6 is what there was supposed to be added on. This might be, this free kick, Japan's last chance.
Yeah, and they've been poor from set pieces, Japan. They need some real quality to come in the box. It's Minamino over it.
Minamino standing over the free kick, 20 yards outside the penalty area, wide on the right-hand side. It's an in-swinger, and it's headed away by Chacon, the player who just came on as a sub. And then a really good tackle by young Aguilera, and he celebrates that tackle with 2 clenched fists. Big moment as they look, Costa Rica, to shut the door on Japan here. Michael Oliver, it's at his discretion now. It is going to be a throw-in. Is it? No, yes, throw-in to Costa Rica, left full-back position, and they're taking their time, and they're running the clock down. And Simon Bennett, the official of the far side, has just looked at his watch too. He knows the time is up. Is there one last chance for Japan? There isn't! It's another big shock of the World Cup. It's a first win of the tournament for Costa Rica. They only needed one chance. Keisha Fuller took his opportunity, and it keeps alive Costa Rica's dream of progressing to the last 16 after their opening humbling by Spain. That 7-0 defeat. This is it. This is redemption. It's an incredible turnaround for Costa Rica, and look at what it means, Stephen. These scenes, tears in eyes. That is lovely to see. The celebrations, the emotions spilling out from Costa Rica. They themselves can't believe that they've picked themselves up and come back with a win.
Well, it was one of the worst games of football that we've seen, but we leave it now with one of the greatest stories. Coming back from losing a game 7-0, not fancied at all coming into the game, from tears of joy from the Costa Rican players. Quite brilliant to watch.
Fuller is having the life squeezed out of him. One by one, his teammates are coming over to him and giving him enormous hugs. There is going to be a Costa Rican party in Qatar tonight. One of the smallest nations population-wise at the tournament, have beaten Japan here, and the alarm bells will be ringing now for the Japanese. It was all going so well when they beat Germany in the opener, but now they are under pressure going into the last game against Spain of all opponents. Japan still have work to do. Well, that took a while to get going. It was a dreadful match, as Stephen says, for the opening hour. But what a finish Costa Rica have given us, and what a story too, as we head back to Juliet in the studio. Who saw this coming? Japan 0, Costa Rica 1.